about this because it's almost time for Daredevil, so we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. It's almost time for Daredevil, but this Cameron, you really have to ignore them because just because it means ground, just because they use the term grounded, does not mean it won't have cosmic elements. Green Lanterns operate on Earth. They're Earth based. They have sectors. Earth is one of the places that they protect. Earth is one of the places that John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, they're all Earth based lanterns. That will never change. Just because it says grounded does not mean it's not going to be any superhero type stuff. Green Lanterns just don't fly through space all the time. You see that in Justice League. You see that in Justice League Unlimited. You see that in the Green Lantern show. They're not just flying in space 24/7.
I feel like people who say that have like the most fundamental misunderstanding of how Green Lantern works. They don't read any of the source material pertaining to the character. When they think Green Lantern, they just think, oh, guy in green suit with ring punching alien in space to a black backdrop with stars. They have the most basic fundamental understanding of how this character works. They don't really understand the context in which it means to have a Green Lantern go anywhere else outside of Earth. But to Lance's point, yes, you have 6 or 7 Earth-based lanterns, and they've all gone to Oa. They've all gone to different parts of the fucking galaxy. There's a reason why some of them are stationed on Earth at certain points, because other ones who are from Earth are out in the galaxy doing other shit. So when I see people bitch and moan about it being like grounded and not in space, I'm just like, okay, well, you're fucking stupid. Number one. Number two, you don't actually understand or care for the source material. Number three, you're finding a reason to bitch. Or number four, you just hate James Gunn. You're gonna fucking hate it no matter what.
Yeah,
And that's coming from a James Gunn critic.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. It's like, folks, don't forget that these people, these two are human, so they want as fantastic as they can be. They also want to keep their feet, no pun intended, in the ground. They want to be able to still just take a walk, just go and like if they're flying around, they can miss small details, which is if you're just walking down the street, you can catch almost anything if you really have a keen eye or senses. So like it's I tell folks when here's the thing, even with the suits, when they put the suits on and when they go to space, that should be a moment. It shouldn't be every time, but especially for the now time being, it should be a moment when they're seen in space. It's like, okay, this is it. But and again, it's for better for worse. You all have to take it that they have a plan. Like this is a mystery they got to investigate on Earth. After that, who knows where the boundaries can go?
Especially since Sinestro is somehow involved. And then again, by grounded, let's remember, Arrow was grounded. What was Arrow by the end of the show? The freaking Spectre.
Yeah.
Superman and Lois technically is a grounded take on Superman. It's a grounded take on Superman with 2 teenage sons. What happens by the end of the series? All 3 of them are flying around fighting a freaking bizarro doomsday. But yes, the show is still grounded. Grounded just means they take real world problems. They have real world elements. Grounded doesn't necessarily. Batman, Dark Knight still got his back broken by Bane.
Yeah.
No regular man is gonna do that. It's still grounded. A guy jumping around in a bat suit, just jumping from high, like flying on a grappling hook. That's a grounded take. That's still fantastical.
I would
A
argue
guy slicing open his cheeks and putting paint on his face and not worrying about getting an infection. That's still fantastical. It's a grounded take on the joke.
I would argue that Zack Snyder's take on the DC universe was fairly grounded.
Yeah.
To an extent, yeah. Grounded doesn't mean takes place on the ground all the time. It has a basis in some form of conceivable reality. It doesn't mean it's going to take place on the ground all the time.
Right. I mean, like, what was the emphasis of Man of Steel? It was how Clark Kent became Superman and how Clark Kent forged the identity of Clark Kent and started working at the Daily Planet. Batman versus Superman is how do we deal with the consequences of a Superman? You introduce Batman and Wonder Woman in the fold. Then things start getting real fucking wild because obviously Wonder Woman tells Bruce at the end of the movie, like, I walked away from mankind a fucking 100 years ago. Yes, Chainsaw, Department of Fandoms. Yes. And Batman is about as grounded as you can get. We're talking about a guy who looked up, witnessed Superman and Zod beating the fucking dog shit out of each other, and he lost a whole building full of people.
Yeah.
It's evocative of 9/11 for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne watched a whole fucking building of his employees die. That is a very real world thing. And I think even looking at James Gunn's Superman story, what does he do? What is the first image you see of his Superman? It's not him standing up, giving that doofy pose. It's not him saving the cat out of the fucking tree. No, it's Superman crashing into the ground, broken, beaten, and scarred.
Begging for his dog to help him.
Yes.
Like, that's the best thing you can do with these characters, especially these fantastical characters, is make them human. That's why I think Superman and Lois worked on as many levels as it did, just to give a point of reference, is because there were stories that, even though Superman had all these fantastical abilities, they were stories that people could connect with, and there were stories that they could follow. And at the end of the day, like with all of these powers that these characters have, at the end of the day, they're people with aspirations, goals, traits of their own, with all these powers on top of it. So,
Wonder
just to
Woman.
say-
Look at that first Wonder Woman movie.
Wonder Woman.
What does she
look at
do?
the first. Yep.
What does she do? She leaves the island of Themyscira and she's like, I'm going to stop World War One.
Right.
Ambitious,
Yeah.
but that's the whole deal. It's like fish out of water, fucking naive. Like, I'm going to end this war because I have the power to do so. And that's the fucking point of the movie. Like, her learning, just because I have these powers doesn't mean I might be able to make a big difference. She
Right.
did by the end of it, but
Right.
what the
Yeah.
fuck did it cost her? Steve
A
Trevor?
lot. Yeah.
A lot.
And you look at the first few seasons of The Flash.
Yeah.
Or he's like, there's so much scientific, that's not the word. There's a lot of fantastical stuff that happens, especially by the end of that season going into later ones. But it starts off as just a guy who's been given these abilities, who's trying to make sure that no 11-year-old kid suffered the same thing that he did. He wants to make a difference, difference with his powers, even if it's just a little one, because all the people in that city matter to him.
And it relatively stayed grounded until Eric Wallace took over.
Yeah.
The show stayed grounded up until they decided to push Crisis up.
Yeah.
He had to worry about losing both parents. Had to worry about losing his adopted father-in-law. Had to worry about not being enough. Like, all of these, like people misuse the term grounded so much, and it
What a really
pisses
great
me
grounded
off.
show. Really great grounded show. Black Lightning.
Black Lightning. It's a
oh,
show about
please.
family.
Definitely.
Not only is it a show about family, it's a show about a black man in today's society navigating the trials and tribulations of a world. And at that, when did that show debut? That was like
2018.
right in the fucking dead center of a Trump presidency.
Ooh, oh yeah.
The themes that show played with were so fucking powerful.
The first
my
episode, he's literally, the police pull him out his car.
Yeah.
Traffic stop.
Yeah.
The very first few minutes. Traffic stop.
Yeah. I remember hearing the story about an episode or moment where like a cop pulls a gun on somebody, and Black Lightning like disassembles the gun and just say, "Hey man, next time just use a taser or just use something like that." Like hearing that, I was just like, "Wow,
Yeah, dude.
wow."
And I
Like,
love
they-
Cress
they-
Williams. I
yeah,
love
like
Cress Williams.
Cress,
Oh yeah, he smashes it.
He's fantastic. Yeah.
It's just like, and then in later seasons when they're doing like the occupation, like season 3, the whole thing of season 3, basically they did their own take on concentration camps for metas.
Yeah.
I said, ain't no show doing this, and that went over so many people's heads,
Yeah.
so many people's heads.
And, that
And
was
then
arguably
that's
the
when you
best
got-
season.
And then that's when you got into the fantastical aspect of, oh, he's getting drawn into Crisis. They want to pull the show in,
Yeah.
but that's what the showrunner wanted to avoid the most at the time. That's why the show was developed for Fox, but Fox was not ready for a show like this. That's why they did not want the show. They were not ready for something like this.
Right.
The CW, the old
Yeah.
CW was.
Yeah.
I will
It would've been right
always,
up their
I will
alley.
always, I will always champion for Black Lightning. I love Black Lightning. I can rewatch that show a million times and never get tired of it, except for the final season when
I was about to
Chris
say,
just
don't
got
watch that.
when Chris got fed up. But during COVID, it seemed like all the actors were tired. Like they had that break, then having to come back. Like they were just ready to be done. Like they were ready to be done.
Yeah, because a lot of the ones that were in that, previously established Arrowverse, they didn't last for long after COVID came around. I'm surprised the Flash lasted for as long as it did after that. But I mean,
He didn't want it to last that long. Though.
no,
That's the crazy
he
part.
didn't. Like he wanted it to end around season 7, and they somehow still got 2 more seasons out of it.
Yep.
I mean, Supergirl ended the year, like the next full season that it came back for was the last one. Black Lightning, I believe its ending was in the middle of its 4th season, and then they got the back half of that 4th season to wrap it up. Then they had 2 other spinoffs planned, that spinoff of Arrow and spinoff of Black Lightning, neither one of which happened.
Yep.
Bro, a kid getting shot during a peaceful protest on Black Lightning.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Yep.
Yeah.
Like they took so many real world things that happened and put it in this show. And everybody was talking about they focus on. No, they're focusing on the Black experience with a superhero. Like and then it's the fact of people were so unsure how this will work. But now they have he has a current comic run, which is an homage to the show.
Yep.
A middle-aged superhero that got back into the light. He can barely hold it. His old suit could not hold a charge. And a lot of people were thinking like a lot of people went into that show thinking like, oh, we thought he was. Yes, he's a meta, but you have to remember in the comics originally, it was the suit that gave him power. It was the belt. It was the belt that gave him his power. He didn't start developing his actual meta abilities till much later on. So now they did a combination of both. The suit helps channel the electricity through the system. It's and then attributing that to his age, and so like that show was leagues ahead of anything. And if James Gunn brings Black Lightning into the DCU, they need to follow suit with what the show did. Like the show changed so much, like giving him the ability to figure out how to fly.
Yeah.
Instead of going the very, very, very fantastical route of having him literally turn into Black Lightning and fly along in power lines, he probably could have, but he's probably too old to do it.
Right.
His body probably couldn't handle that.
Nah, man.
I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to write that in there and be like, yeah, Jeff, I don't think you can handle that no more. You're older. Like we literally had a show for 4 seasons that focused on a 40-something-year-old superhero.
Yep.
Teaming up with kids, basically. Teaming up with 20 and 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
He was the oldest member of the league when they formed the league. He was the oldest member of the Justice League, unless you count John Johns.
Yeah.
But you can't because he looks young.
Right.
Right.
Physically, he was the oldest member of the league. Like, come on now.
And out of all the Earth heroes, he had the longest career.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And Lance, by the way, I think you might have just got another video out of this talking about what grounded means.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Hey, we get good conversations out of this show. We've been on a roll for the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But man, I gotta watch Black Lightning again.
You're welcome.
I got to.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, and let's not talk about the depression storyline from season 4, which was the best one. Let's not talk about how Cress was legitimately pissed, and that's why he wanted to leave the show. So he brought his all in that performance because the way they handled Bill's death, that had to be the most graphic death on the CW at the time.
Probably. And then after the final,
and
then what's funny is after the final season 2, people were saying, "Oh, did he just not really, care about the character anymore?" At the end, you could tell he still cared about the character because when they brought him back in Armageddon after his show ended. I mean, I'll admit season 8 of The Flash had a myriad of problems, but in that 5-part Armageddon story, Black Lightning was one of the better parts of it.
He cared about the show. He just didn't care. Like the way that they handled this, I remember the day that I picked up my phone at work and I saw the tweet and he let us know. He's like, yeah, the show's been picked up for season 4. But my character won't be back. They just let me know on set that I filmed my final scene.
It's gotta suck knowing that.
For you not to find out that you're getting killed off until you literally look at the script and be like, wait, what? And that's what pissed Crest off. That's what pissed Crest off the most.
Hell, and to think we almost got something similar with Sam Lane and Superman and Lois, because we thought the budget cuts, we thought he was going to be out of season 4 completely and then either be saved or killed off screen, and he was thankfully able to still get a good into his character.
Yep, they handled that. The writing for Sam Lane was leagues better than what they did to Bill Henderson. Like, honestly, like they thought honestly that his murder that hit home, but the way that they went about it was they could have let him know that at the beginning of the season. They did not have to wait till the end because you wanted some shock value.
Yeah.
But all his characters seem to get done like that. Even his character on Criminal Minds was killed out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, he was on that show.
He gets killed out of nowhere on every show. I feel bad for him, actually.
Man, I hope no one's trying to make that a tradition.
I know, right? It kind of seems like that. But where's Ronan at? Oh, there you go. We're about to